What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Thursday evening. So, Jimmy Kimmel returned to air and he has 6.2 million viewers. They're calling it a viewers bonanza. I believe his YouTube channel, his monologue, once he returned, has 21 million from a day ago. So he has 21 million views. Shout out to Jimmy Kimmel. So the video that I had up before, I played his full monologue and I interjected, but Disney, ABC, they didn't like that. So I'm going to read through this video, and I'm not going to play any of Jimmy's monologue, but I'll comment on it. And what I will say is, and I even changed the thumbnail, right, to focus on the people who are actually part of his staff. He said that he had over 200 staff members. And those are the people that, would have had a more difficult time finding, employment, especially in today's economy. And they're not as, famous and well known as Jimmy Kimmel. He's a multimillionaire. I'm sure, like I said, he could set up a YouTube channel or set, his own YouTube channel if he did end up, splitting with Disney permanently, or starting a podcast with Stephen Colbert or whatever, right? He could stay in the entertainment space doing independent media and he would be fine. It's the people who, works for him, the camera people, the doorman right there, the band, et cetera, hair and makeup. All those people's livelihoods would have been affected if Disney didn't bring Jimmy Kimmel back on air. But he is back, so congratulations to him. So let me read you guys this article from MSNBC. It says that Trump's censorship backfires as Jimmy Kimmel scores ratings bonanza. He says, and you guys know that line. Like I said, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get dinged. But he said that Trump, said in his tweet that Jimmy Kimmel had bad ratings. He's like, well, I won't tonight. So he's right. Because it's only been 24 hours and he already has 21 million views. And typically he would get around around like 250,000 views per episode, which is still really good. But nothing like 21 million. You know what I mean? Like he's on track to hit those, Cat Williams numbers from Club Shay Shay days last year. It says Trump, quote unquote, lost this round. That's what Ari Melba's assessment after Jimmy Kimmel's record breaking return to ABC. On Wednesday's The Beat, Melber called the episode, quote, a ratings bonanza, noting that 6 million viewers tuned in to Tuesday's Jimmy Kimmel Live. On social media, the comedian's opening monologue, excuse me, had racked up more than 26 million views as of Thursday morning. So I'm guessing that they're combining not only YouTube but all the other social media accounts like Instagram, TikTok, etc. Melber said that the ratings show that the Trump administration's attempt to squash criticism from the late night host backfired in a spectacular fashion. When you try to suppress something, you sometimes draw more attention to it. That's the, Streisand effect. The Beat host referenced a popular nickname for this phenomenon. Okay. This was before I read the article. So he's talking about the Barbara Streisand effect, which the coin was turned in 2005 after Barbara Streisand tried to suppress a single picture of her home in California. Her effort ended up backfiring and drawing far more interest. However, he acknowledged that the Trump censorship attempt may have backfired this time. He also cautioned that a phenomenon like the Streisand effect is only possible when information is being suppressed and it's still accessible. Yeah, because again, I mean, of course, I would see clips of Jimmy Kimmel on my social media feed every now and then, but it wasn't until, after Stephen Colbert got fired and Jimmy Kimmel, got fired, and then everyone started unsubscribing from Disney and boycotting Disney and Hulu. Um, and Disney took a huge plunge, losing around $4 billion, and their stock just plummeted. That they decided, in less than a week's time to bring Kimmel back on the air. It says so. In fact, there's more interest in Kimmel's monologue, but yes, I'm sorry, there's always a but these days. There will still only be a matter in reality if there is freedom to find the material and get it. The Streisand effect does not work in North Korea or places with legal, practical tech limits on what you might find on your TV or on their version of what they call the internet, which is censored. So Melber highlighted many local affiliates run by Nexstar and Sinclair are still refusing to air Kimmel's show, seemingly going along with the MAGA government crackdown and bringing America one step closer to the practices like in North Korea. So that's horrible, right? We definitely don't want to get to that point. Trump did say before he took office on the second term that he wanted to be a dictator on day one. And, even though he said that he knew nothing about Project 2025, a lot of what was written, um, they're being implemented. So people from, other countries are looking in, warning that the U.S. does not want to go down the path of authoritarianism. Um, so the freedom of speech is so fragile, but it needs to be protected at all costs. And one thing that Jimmy, did do during this monologue was he was really emotional. And a few times he got emotional just saying that, he wasn't trying to make fun of, CK's unliving. He would never make fun of someone losing their life. He was actually making fun of Trump. If you guys go back and watch the clip, um, and I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna play it because that's protected by Disney, but and ABC. Um, and I get it, they're going through a whole lot right now, so they're sensitive about their ish. Shout out to Erica Badu. They're like, now is not the time to be trying to play Jimmy Kimmel's full monologue on your page. But anyway, what he said was Donald Trump was being interviewed by reporters and they asked him how he felt about, CK's passing. He made a brief statement and then said, oh, by the way, look at, all the construction for the $200 million ballroom that, was being constructed at the White House. And so what Jimmy Kimmel said was, yes, the fourth stage of grief, construction. He wasn't even talking about CK. He was talking about Trump and how, you know, Trump was more focused on the ballroom than he was the passing of, CK. So, but again, people, they are, for whatever reason, okay? And y'all, to be honest, I was largely unaware. I just have to be honest. I was largely unaware of, how popular or I guess like mainstream, and maybe it's getting blown up even more so because, CK was, I don't know if it was because he was young. I don't know if it's because he lost his life by another right wing Republican, young man in Utah at a college campus. But for whatever reason, they have decided to make this man, almost like this MAGA martyr. And it's just, blown up to where other people are starting to lose their jobs if they say anything negative about him. I'm like, I didn't even know enough about him to really even comment or to think that that would be something that Jimmy Kimmel, who has been on the air for, I think he said 20 plus years, he's had that late night show, to lose his job over. I'm like, now they're starting to come after, the Stephen Colbert's and the Jimmy Kimmels and I'm like, whoa, it's getting real in these media streets. So I'm hoping that, the tenets of our democracy can be protected, if not by the courts and by our, Congress and by our representatives who are supposed to do that. That's their job to do that, to protect our democracy. Um, then it falls on the people, right? We the people. Those are the first three words of the Constitution. So the fact that, people boycotted and spoke with their dollars, I mean, money talks at the end of the day. There's an old saying in politics, the article continues. It's a thin line between the impossible and the inevitable, meaning sometimes something you don't even think can ever happen happens. And right now, America has a leader who openly tries to abuse government power to sacrifice or to end the First Amendment of our Constitution and the basis for all the rest of the civil dialogue and democracy. So the First Amendment is the first one for a reason, right? It sets up the premise and the basis of American democracy. You have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom to petition your government, and freedom of assembly, right? Peaceful protest. If you don't have at least those five basic tenets, then you can't have the Second Amendment without it just being what we've been seeing lately. Just, no control, no type of checks and balances, no seemingly common sense regulations when it comes to that. So the first is needed to protect the second, the third, so on and so forth. While many Americans believe the US is going the way of North Korea, Milber says that's where we are. According to him, the only way to prevent further crackdown is for American people to stand up and band together to fight censorship. The rest is up to us. Now, I listen, North Korea, we're not there yet. We're not like we don't want to get there, which is why I'm glad that Kimmel was reinstated, because it's like he said during his monologue, he said it's bigger than just the show. Like, it's not just about him. His show is symbolic of, what people are willing to stand for. Like Disney, and I'm sure ABC was not expecting to lose $4 billion in less than a week. You know what I mean? They were not expecting the one woman to cancel her 100,000 plus, wedding. She canceled it. People were canceling their Disney cruises and their, season passes to Disneyland and Disney World and, Hulu, just all of it, all at the same time, too. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just one sucker punch. It was like, Tyson, the right hook, and, you know what I mean? Boom, 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 boom. It was just like it was coming at him in a flurry of punches all at the same time. That stock was crashing, crashing. Okay. Um, so they got him quickly back on the air, and people are, satisfied. I think that another thing that people were bringing up too is where was this outcry when, Joy Reid lost her job, or Don Lemon lost his job, or, and it's just like, at the end of the day, I mean, one would hope that people would rally around. And I think that there were like some boycotts and some, you know, some outcry, of course, when they lost their job. Especially, I remember when Joy Reid lost hers, it was a big deal. But at the end of the day, I mean, Black people only make up 13% of the entire US population. We're still, a small portion of the entire, country. But Jimmy Kimmel, you know what I mean? Like, he's a lot more mainstream. And so, like I said, it's just like, if when Joy lost her, you know, job, I feel like the outcry was just kind of like a drop in the bucket. But when Jimmy Kimmel lost his over something that, again, wasn't even dealing with CK, it was more so about Trump, it was almost like somebody kicked the bucket of water over and it just toppled everywhere. And so they really felt those effects all throughout the country. And even around the world, people were talking about it, because Disney, people in other countries, have said that they grew up on watching, not only the Disney movies, but the Disney shows as kids. So the fact that he got 6 million views, 6+ million views, when other stations weren't even, broadcasting his show is amazing. Because if they can't watch on network television, they can always go to YouTube and watch it as well. So, but yeah, I mean, Stephen Colbert lost his job. I don't know what he's gonna do next, but Trump also put out a tweet, gunning for Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, and they haven't even said anything yet. So this is just symbolic. Um, I feel like he definitely, will test the waters until the people push back or Congress pushes back, or, federal judges have dismissed a lot of Trump's lawsuits as well. So there needs to be, checks and balances. Unfortunately, our Supreme Court is very, they're outnumbered as well. So, you know, most of the justices are right leaning, and they also have Congress. They have the House and the Senate. So the midterms are so important. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. If you guys, you know, take people with you to vote, you know what I mean? Like, do what we need to do. But it's so important that we get the House, hopefully, and the Senate back, so that there can be some semblance of, checks and balances. But Jimmy Kimmel, you know what I mean? Regardless of whether he has the show on ABC or not, he'll be fine. Like I said, it's the other people, the doorman right there, right, with the heart. I mean, everybody is, this is not the economy to be trying to job search, especially when, that nice gentleman there, he looks a little bit older. So I'm glad to see that, like I said, not only Jimmy got his job back, but the people who work for him, his staff, were the ones that were really going to be affected. Um, but yeah, so he can continue to, do what he needs to do. I'm sure he'll probably be more careful of the words that he chooses going forward. And unfortunately, until this administration changes hands in the next few years, that's what it is. But we will see. We will see going forward, how this shapes things. I don't know if these other. I think they said that they're not going to play Jimmy Kimmel's show. The other networks that are Nexstar and Sinclair, they're still refusing to air his show. I don't know if that's going to be, temporary or permanent, but if for whatever reason you do want to watch, his show, he's available on YouTube. So there's that. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments section. What do you guys think of Jimmy's return? Sorry, like I said, I had to do this over because um, I couldn't play the full monologue, even though I interjected, but I get it. I get it. And listen, I'm learning on YouTube as I go as well. So anyway, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, Aces. Bye.